Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Today's the Day Changemakers Podcast. I am Jody Grunwald. If you haven't already, please go to the Today's the Day Changemakers YouTube channel and hit subscribe. This week, my guest is Wendy Liscow, Executive Director, Arts Ed NJ. Wendy is a champion of the transformative power of arts education for both students and educators. She is the recipient of the 2021 Outstanding Lifetime Contribution to Arts Education Award, presented at New Jersey's annual Governor's Awards in Arts Education. Arts Ed NJ was established in 2007 with the mission to provide a unified voice for a diverse group of constituents who agree on the educational benefits and impact of the arts, specifically the contributions they make to students' achievement and a civilized, sustainable society. Go to artsednj.org for more information about their programming. Please subscribe to the Today's the Day Changemakers YouTube channel. Stream this podcast on all streaming sites. Reviews and shares are always welcomed and help us to be heard. Like us on Facebook and Instagram by going to Today is the Day, Live It. To learn more about Today is the Day consulting and coaching services and the new Today is the Day Changemakers Connective, go to todayisthedayliveit.com. Sign up for our mailing list to be notified when new events and networking opportunities become available. Also, I am the CEO and co-founder of the Zach G. Applauder Kids Foundation. To learn more about how the organization is connecting children with a financial need to an ongoing creative outlet, go to applaudourkids.org. The views expressed by all Today's the Day Changemakers podcast guests are their own. Their appearance on the Today's the Day Changemakers podcast does not imply any endorsement of them or any entity that they represent. Have a great week, everyone. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Today's the Day Changemakers podcast. I am Jody Grunwald, and as I've been saying now for over 2 years, I get to interview the changemakers, the inspirers, and those who are disrupting the status quo in the best way possible somewhere in the world. And today I have Wendy Liscow with me. Hi, Wendy. How are you?
I'm great. Hope you're doing well, celebrating this new year.
I am so excited. 2023 is here, and we're right here in the middle of January when we're airing this. So it's an exciting time for all of us.
Looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, me too. Me too. So I'm just going to do what I always do, Wendy. I share, a little bit from your bio, and then we're going to talk a little bit about your evolution to where you are today. So Wendy Liscow is the Executive Director for Arts Ed NJ. She's a champion of the transformative power of arts education for both students and educators. Most recently, before going to Arts Ed NJ, she served 17 years at the Morristown, New Jersey-based Geraldine R. Dodge Foundation, where she began her work at Dodge's arts grant-making area. Is that correct? It was the grant-making area? Eventually becoming education program officer, leading its education and technical assistance programs. She has steered statewide initiative, advocacy, arts integration, and culturally relevant and responsive practices, especially for children attending New Jersey's most historically underserved school districts. She is the recipient, and congratulations to you on this, of the 2021 Outstanding Lifetime Award for Arts Education that was presented at New Jersey's annual Governor Awards in Arts Ed. How exciting is that, Wendy? Congratulations to you on that. So how new are you to Arts Ed NJ?
Well, I'm 6 months into my new role as Executive Director at Arts Ed New Jersey, and I have had, however, a long history with Arts Ed New Jersey. I was sort of at the table at its beginnings over 15 years ago when we were having this brainchild that we needed to ensure that every single child had a terrific, strong, sequential arts education, which I was so fortunate to have growing up.
That's amazing, and we're going to get to that because now I want to go back in time, as I always do with all my guests, and learn a little bit more about you. And so, tell us, where were you born and where did you grow up?
I was born in Cincinnati, Ohio, and I grew up there and spent most of my years there until I went to college in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and went back to Cincinnati for some professional internships and training. And then I did make my way to New Jersey in around 1985. So I have been in New Jersey longer than I've lived anywhere else. So I do call New Jersey my home.
Oh, that's awesome. That's wonderful. So tell us about a little bit about how did you get connected to the arts as a child? Is that where it all started?
I think so. I had two loves in my life when I was growing up. One was arts and one was nature and biology. As a little girl, I was the baby in the family, sort of on my own a lot, and I spent a lot of time art making. I would look at magazines and make what I saw and painted what I saw. And I started businesses when I was a little girl, making stuffed animals, those smushy stuffed animals that are such a trend right now. I noticed across the nation. I had my own little business doing that kind of thing. I made sand art. Whatever I saw, I sort of turned into something that I would share with others. And then in about seventh grade, I discovered the theater. And I was just the legs of, how when somebody sits over your body and the legs kick and the body on top does the talking. I was the legs and in a talent show, and I never turned back from there. I had the opportunity to start making costumes and writing and performing and stage managing. I had a chance to do every part of it, and I found myself, and I noticed that the kids around me were just finding themselves. They were finding something to focus on and that mattered, and they were making things, literally finding our voices. And I ended up pursuing that for a career as well as education. At the time I was growing up, it was not the thing to do to just be an artist. So I studied education with a goal of teaching, and ended up realizing that I didn't feel that I understood the profession of the theater. I understood some of the craft. I was 18 years old, 20 years old. I hadn't really done it, and I was wondering, how do I actually teach something? Maybe I would just do an internship. And I took an internship in directing and was immediately brought into the world of improvisation and producing and directing and teaching others. And so I spent about 20 years as a professional producer and director and dramaturg. I loved new plays. I loved working with writers. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that, people were saying things in ways that meant and were impacting and changing. I was thinking about this, the title of your show, Changemakers. I always saw that there were things that could be changed in the world. And I felt the theater had a major way of creating change because of the storytelling. So I pursued it with all my heart. And then all the way along, we were using theater education. And I was very committed to education. And what I got. I mean, going back to your original question, I'm sorry I went off on a tangent.
No, please keep going. This is amazing.
That change, that sense of power that I found in myself, I felt, how do you make sure that every kid gets that opportunity? They get it through other things, hopefully you find it, maybe you find it in sports or, math or, but you have to find not just that you're good at it, but it gives you a sense of voice and identity and agency. So how do we make that happen for every kid? And it doesn't just happen. Somebody has to plan for it. I used to think we were born, came out of the womb singing in with rhythm, etc. And I do think it is within us, but I think it has to be brought out. It has to be taught and nurtured.
I was going to say nurtured. Absolutely. And there has to be a vehicle, that's the thing. It's that And for so many, and you know that, I'm CEO of a not-for-profit that's all about the arts and helping those underserved to be able to connect in an ongoing way for up to 15 years with the arts. But a lot of times, if they find the craft, if they are introduced to it and they can't afford it, it disappears. And that connection, once it's all of a sudden there's a spark, but then if it's lost because there's not affordability, then there is a piece of loss connected to it. And that's why if you find it, it was very important for our organization to keep that connection going. So I totally understand what it's given to you. What advice or what could you tell somebody that may be listening that doesn't have that connection to the arts? What would you say to them in a sentence or two that the arts really provides and why people should support it?
I think arts are a flower and they are a tool. And the flower, I feel, is sort of that energy. And this is where my commitment to nature and biology and in the environment sort of merge with art, is because I feel like that power, that connection is created through the arts and expression. Somehow the things that we don't talk about normally or are able to easily articulate it, be it values or emotions or whatever, the arts allow us to sort of express those, discover them, explore them. And that is critical to our mental health. It is critical to our joy. It is that, it's such a complicated thing, I think, to put into words, the power of that flower. But I think if anybody is sat quietly in nature, that feeling of being part of something bigger, or has allowed themselves, either be it cooking or knitting or creating any little thing where they feel in the flow where you like, where did that time go? That is sort of the power of the arts and creativity. I also do think it's a tool for those people who realize, that every minute, or feel like every minute, needs to be changing academic prowess, or it needs to be building confidence or some sort of social emotional skill. It is also a tool to do all those things. I used to, I'm not a big fan of this silver bullet concept, and because I don't believe there is a silver bullet for anything. Yet if there is something that I think gets closest to that idea of being something for everybody and to solve all problems in the world, I still believe what the the 12-year-old girl thought way back then, that it can really be a salve for just about anything.
Oh, that was so well put. So well put. So tell everybody what Arts Ed NJ does.
Well, I feel like I found my bliss, right? Because I was funding opportunities in my previous life for other people to make sure that arts was getting to all kids. And now I get to, I don't want to say lead, because our board, our steering committee, and the staff of Arts Ed New Jersey are all really leading. But I have the opportunity to be in the role of executive director of an organization that is a collective impact model, which not everybody necessarily understands. It's taking many partners. Our tagline, I think, says it all: many partners, one voice. We bring together anybody who has a stake in ensuring arts education is successful. So that includes everybody from the teacher associations that represent music and theater and dance and visual arts, to the associations that represent administrators, principals, superintendents, school boards, teachers union, anybody, including nonprofits who are also doing this work. Everybody who needs to be at the table to make sure that we have the policies in place and the tools and the interest, your initial question of why. to make sure that every kid, every day, every year has a quality arts education in New Jersey.
Where do people find you?
Well, hopefully they find us at our website. That's www.artsednj.org. And any hashtag or for all the social networks, we are there. They can also find us at our SEL center. So we have a center that is nationally focused for social emotional learning, that is making the connections between arts and that social emotional learning, and that is artsedsel.org. And they could probably find us through our Arts Ed Now campaign. I think one of the things I'm most proud of over the years that our organization did was that we recognized that we needed to have tools to do this advocacy. So we've created an Arts Ed Now campaign. That's all at artsednow.org, where you can find all kinds of marketing tools or branding tools or things that you can share with parents and supervisors to tell the story, and school board members, because I don't want to scare people or raise up red flags, but I always do feel like that there are things that can divert us from the importance of the arts, especially as we come out of the pandemic and people are starting to think about what is next and reimagine. And there's a teacher shortage, and it's hard to recruit teachers now. So there are things that we have to keep our eye on, and we have to keep our eye on making sure that arts are happening in our school, because they are actually, I'm going to go back to my silver bullet, I think they are an important tool to help us all heal post-pandemic.
Absolutely.
Pam 10 is a leader in IT enterprise solutions and staffing. They are driven to transform their clients' business performances. They do this every day by providing their clients with the best services and products like BizLego, an online community platform, and Colear, a unique learning management system. They also transform the lives of women and children through their associated nonprofits, SheTech, which supports women in and joining the technology field, and Softkin, support organization for kids in need. Pam 10, technology for social good. Go to pam10.com for more information.
There's not a lot of people that I can think of that I know that they don't connect to music. They don't connect to theater. They connect to something related to that entertainment industry or the art industry that helps to whisk them away for a little bit, right? Whether it's a movie, a TV show, theater, music, live music, or music from the radio. We don't realize how much our lives are infused with art naturally. Now, for some students, and I want to just say this because I know you know this too, but for my listeners, is that there are some students that academics, math and English and history and science, they know they have to pass those classes, but they don't feel connected to them. It's that music class once a day or once a week. And I know from my own personal children, my youngest, she shared this on a podcast I had on young entrepreneurs, that it was that is what she looked forward to, because that's where she excelled. And it gave her confidence. So if we don't have this, because you're talking about reimagining and there is a massive shortage, because I'm looking for a music director for our performance group, and I'm having a heck of a time trying to find someone. Do you have any insight as to why that is happening at all through what you've, all of your connections? Why is there this massive shortage of teachers when it comes to the arts?
Well, I don't think it's exclusive to the arts, unfortunately, or fortunately. I think there was a shortage of teachers prior to the pandemic. And of course, the pandemic really hit education very hard. and teachers are feeling exhausted. They went through the pandemic as well. They had the same sort of fears, and they had to hold up a world of protection and safety for hundreds of kids every single day. They had to show up. And I think as they have come back into the classroom and back into school, they're juggling extra balls. They were already juggling a lot of balls. Now they're juggling multiple new roles. They have to, substitute teach. They have to sit, they have a lot of demands. And
Mhm.
I'll be
Mhm.
honest with you, and it's a campaign that we have promoted and we're going to continue to promote. I'm not sure we appreciate and send the love to teachers that they deserve. There was that bright moment right at the beginning of the pandemic where I think parents realized, wow, this is hard to show up every day and, teach children all day long and do it well. But we have to get back to really appreciating teachers. Now, I believe this will turn around. I really do. But we have to do the work. And I think a lot of art makers have realized that the environment in which they work needs to change as well. During my coming up in the theater, it was all work all the time. I even scheduled when I was going to give birth to my twins. I had to plan that between an opening of a show and, right after the end of the season. I mean, that's how invested I was into it. So the work-life balance hasn't proven to celebrate the artistic spirit. I do think we have to get the next generation of artists thinking about teaching.
Mhm.
There many, not all artists are about being a teacher. They're not all about change for, societal or social justice. But there are a lot of young people, I think, who want to make change right now.
I agree. I agree. And that, it's funny you say that because the focus this year, moving forward is really for me to interview more young change makers. You know what I mean? And because there are a lot of younger generation people that are part of that younger generation that they're doing things already. They just need a little bit of mentorship and a little bit of a push and for us to lift them up as they continue to make change. They're the next generation to take over. So we need to encourage and provide them that insight. I know you have something big coming up on January 16th that we need to talk about. So what can you share a little bit about this upcoming program you have?
Yes, I'm excited to share that we are sponsoring the Culturally Responsive Arts Education Workout and Guided Conversations. It is an 8-week asynchronous course, air quotes around the course, because it's a curated opportunity to look into culture, identity, and justice. And what does that mean as an individual? What does it mean in terms of interpersonal relationships? And what does it mean in terms of systems? All three of those levels. And every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, you'd receive a prompt that has a maximum of 30 minutes of videos or readings or podcasts to listen to spark your thoughts about culture, identity, culturally responsive practice, and what that might look like in the classroom. It works at personal level, and it works, I believe, on an educational level. And while it's focused on art teachers, it's also highly appropriate for any teacher, any administrator, superintendent, parent, school board member, anybody who cares about education. And it kicks off on January 16th. And it won't be too late to sign up. You go to www.artsednewjersey.com/CRAE, CRAE workout. And you'll see information about it, and you can click there to register and get on board. We also have every other week, we have conversations where we invite people to come and talk about what they're thinking and learning. So usually about 30 to 60 people will show up for that. But I really encourage people to join us. There, over 200 people are already registered to participate in this conversation and be a part of a community that is really thinking about how to make sure that every single child not only gets that arts education or quality education, but feels like they are part of the education. They see themselves in their education.
Is there a cost, Wendy?
Oh, it's free.
Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure we shared that.
Thank
So
you.
that's no, that's not a problem at all. And I know that we'll be airing a little bit after that date. So just so you know, you said that it's still good, the timing for people to sign up. What is the latest they could sign up? Do you know? Do you have that date or not?
Well, I'd say the 20th. The way it's structured is that there's about 4 weeks of content that happens over 8 weeks. We realized how busy people are, and so we give them the second alternate week to sort of continue to do the work. It's a lot of fun too. There are art making prompts, there are great reflection prompts, there are movie suggestions, because we know that people have been, when they participate in this, they need to talk about it. So I know a lot of people have made it a whole family event. And so they either have a dinner time conversation about it, or they watch these movies together. There's a Google Classroom, so there's a community of ways to sort of share what you're thinking and working on. So I really encourage people to sign up and have it be a part of their new year resolutions, to sort of think differently and feel better about difference.
I think this sounds wonderful. And as you said, it covers the gamut from parents to educators to anyone who's interested in really helping to better understand the arts, the impact, the differences, people's differences, and how we can teach children to interact better together. Does that cover basically what you were sharing?
And it's really, I should say, it's less about teaching kids how to interact, but how to have the adults see their kids and their unique abilities, their cultures, what they are bringing to the table. And it ties back to what you're talking about, of really wanting to represent younger change makers, because how do we support the change maker in every kid?
That's right. That is so true. How do we do that? And we need to learn how to do that better. So that's wonderful that you have this program going. I do have a question for you. In regards to, you talked about producing, being behind the scenes, making costumes, doing all. Have you been on the stage? Have you been able to be in shows yourself?
I was all the way through college, and then I realized I loved the interpreting of characters a lot, and I wanted to do it for all the characters on stage, which doesn't make you a good co-actor. So I realized I was really a director at heart, and I love the words and how to shape them and the storytelling. And so I ended up doing the dramaturgy and directing.
That's
My
great.
husband's an actor. We leave it to him. Yeah.
So what kind of actor is he? Is he on theater as well?
He's a theater actor, and he does a lot of work off Broadway, and he's been doing a lot of work recently at the NJ Rep, which is down in Long Branch, a great theater that focuses on new plays. Yeah.
So it's in the family even. This is
family.
awesome.
My daughter, I have twin daughters. One is a teacher, and one is in the theater. She's and does wardrobe over at the George D. Playhouse. Yeah.
Oh, that's a great venue. That's what they do wonderful things there. That's what's nice too, is you can, as a family, have conversations about these things and everybody's connected through the arts. Look at that. You're a prime example of it.
And education. Our conversations are, and it gives me I can sort of take the pulse of what's happening in schools through my daughter, and how teachers and students and parents are really working their way back.
And it's so both my daughter's teachers. So one is becoming a music teacher, and she has a little bit of her own, her own students. And then my other goes into middle schools in New York, and she teaches about film. So
Great.
So I understand about being able to have those conversations. And so thank you so much, Wendy. I'm so excited to have you on in January as one of my first guests in 2023. Is there anything else before I ask you the last question that you would like to share?
No, I think we covered a lot of territory.
We did. And we probably could go on and on, because I know there's so many things that you've learned. We didn't talk anything about what happened over at Dodge, but I know that you did a lot of great stuff there. And
I did think of something. I want to get people to save the date. I know it feels far away, but we also, as you mentioned, run the Governor's Awards, the Arts Education Governor's Awards, which will be happening June 2nd. And it's an amazing opportunity to see hundreds of really amazing young people receive their awards and perform. And it's down at the War Memorial, and we are working really hard this year to open it up to the general public, because we feel like it's always been open, but it goes beyond the parents to really celebrate these young people. They've all gone through other competitions and have been selected from those competitions to come to the Governor's Awards. It is really a beautiful event, and we hope people will put it on their calendars.
Absolutely. Where can they find more information about that as it becomes available?
It'll be on our website, and it'll be there probably within by February.
Perfect. So my new question for this year is to share a lesson learned, could be personal or professional, with either an upcoming, young change maker, or it would also help somebody who's also seasoned, something that you learned along the way that you could pass along.
Yeah, so many things flood through my mind. Some of them I just read about, in my sort of beginning of the year thinking, but I'd have to say that one that is so important to me, and I think has been taught to me through the arts, is to don't be afraid to fail. That failing up, failure is part of this journey. It's part of creativity, and there is no shame. It is actually the opportunity to grow and be better. And whatever voices get in your head, be they a parent, teacher, friend, whatever, who's trying to sort of turn that failure into, shame or blame, turn it around, because you're on your path to getting better.
That's beautiful. Brene Brown says, instead of the word, I don't know if you've heard this from her before, instead of the word failure, if you could say you fell, because when you fall, you get back up. And so it's kind of a nice way to look at it, is that, as a baby, a toddler, you're walking around and you fall down, you scrape a knee, you get back up, the knee heals, and you keep going. We don't stop walking just because we scraped our knee. We keep going. We keep running. Actually, we probably run before we walk sometimes, right? I know my own kids did that. So I love what you're saying, is that, we learn from those failures or falls, and then we get back up and we do it all over again.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. No problem. Again, one more time, website where they can find you, if you have that in front of you.
www.artsednj.org.
Awesome. Wendy Liscow, I am so happy to have you on this January with us. Thank you for being a change maker, the executive director of Arts Ed NJ. And we're looking forward to those dates. Remember, go to the website to sign up for the January 16th programming. Hold the date for June 2nd for the Governor's Awards. Lots of great things coming out of Arts Ed NJ. And please take a moment to say hi to Wendy when you have a chance. Wendy, thanks again. I am so excited that we had this conversation.
Me too. Thank you, Jody.
I'm going to say what I say at the end of every single podcast. Today is the day. You cannot go back to yesterday, and you do not yet own tomorrow. So what small or large step are you going to take today to get yourself closer to your goal or your goals? Have a great week, everyone.